people share their histories. There's a lot of people but they're really nice. And like also there's different listeners and groups of people in the industry really like help each other out. And I think they're like at this point I feel like there's probably a Black Podcasting Conference.
All right, hello everyone. So we're going to start our panel in a few minutes, but we just wanted to say thank you to a bunch of people. We wanted to say thank you to everyone for coming. It just means a lot, and we had it last year, we're having it this year, and hopefully for many years to come. We want to, of course, thank all the artists who are participating today. We just love that Creative Minds can be a place. Yes, round of applause. We're just very grateful that Creative Minds can be a place where we can showcase all of your amazing work. And we also wanted to thank our sponsors. So without the Village Bank, Families Organizing for Racial Justice, the Center for Civic Engagement and Service, and the Office of Human Rights Care Fund, this wouldn't really be possible at all. So another round of applause for our sponsors.
And just before we start, just make sure that you get around to all the different attractions and activities today. We have like coloring pages and chalk over here. We've got things to purchase all over, henna, mangolasi, free portraits by Rebecca, BLAC bracelets and t-shirts, art from Soria and other artists as well. So, and free water from HLU. So just make sure that you get around, purchase things, and there's also free things, and just appreciate the art, as our goal is to uplift artists of color, which is why this year we're so excited to be able to compensate artists for their art, stand in solidarity with one another, with different groups of color, and then also as allyship from those who are not from a group of color to just support one another in arts where historically people of color have been discouraged from participating and being as uplifted as others. So today we're going to have a panel of artists and moderated by Maddie. So that will be starting momentarily, and again we thank you all for coming so much today.
Okay, so can I please call up to the seats before me Maddie Fabry, our moderator, and Olivia Helford-Chapia, Newton North senior and organizer of Creative Minds, and Zizi Saeed, and Newton North High School sophomore, and Jamal Eversley, who is a local artist who recently had organized an exhibit at the New Art Center. And could we also call up Denise Marshall, who is also a local artist, and Dean Rulak, who is a Newton North Dean of the Adams House.
Okay, so we're gonna just start with name, pronouns, profession, which can include student, and favorite artistic medium.
Denise D. Marshall. My favorite medium is acrylic paint. Pronoun her, she. Thank you.
My name is Kari Rulak. I'm the sophomore dean here at North. My favorite genre of question. My favorite medium is music.
Hi, my name is Zizi Saeed. I'm a sophomore at Newton North, and my pronouns are she, her, and I'd say my favorite medium of art is music.
Hi, I'm Olivia Helfrich-Tapia. I'm a senior at North. I use she, her pronouns, and my favorite medium of art would probably be music as well.
Good afternoon, my name is Jamal Eversley. I'm an artist from Randolph, Mass. I use the He series, and my favorite medium is painting.
Okay, our next question is, how did you get involved in art, and what does being an artist mean to you?
I got into art about 6 years ago. I got sick and I started painting, and I've been painting ever since. Art for me is expression, shows life. I'm a big proponent of everyone getting along, and so a lot of my art's going to depict people getting along and doing day-to-day activities.
I would say I first got into music as a young person, just listening to music, my parents playing music and that kind of thing. I later began to sing in my church choir. I did some performances with the Kumba Choir, you guys may be familiar with here in Newton. Music is important to me because of its expression. It's important for individuals to be able to express themselves in different ways, different mediums. My favorite is music. While I don't sing much anymore, you know, I appreciate music, and just being involved with music, it helps me appreciate other forms of artistic expression.
I'd say I started getting into art as long as I can remember. I was always coloring on like paper, and then I started playing the piano in kindergarten, and since then I've learned the bass and other instruments, and I think I started writing music when I was around 10, so it's just always been a part of my life, art in general.
I also have been involved with piano and other musical instruments since I was younger, and also art classes. But as I got older, my passion for art centered mostly around creating spaces for other artists through like Lost and Found and other projects like that, just bringing more people together around common themes and goals and identities to kind of uplift those voices, which I didn't see as much in my classes and lessons growing up, to doing music and art as well.
I would love to hear more about Lost and Found sometime. But for me, a friend of mine a long time ago said, you don't choose art, art chooses you. And that's totally true. I've been an artist ever since I can remember, like you. And I went to business school, and I had an internship at this accounting firm, and that's when I realized that I have to allow art to choose me, and I chose it back. So we've been married ever since.
What are some struggles you've dealt with being a person of color in art?
I wanted to have my work shown, so I went down to New York. I talked to a gallerist, and he told me that my work wasn't going to be shown, and that I was an outsider, and that affected me in a way that wasn't, I don't think, typical. Instead of it making me not do art, it actually inspired me, made me want to do art and make a point of it, because for me, I wasn't going to allow a stranger to dictate what I did with my life, and so I just pushed forward.
I would say, as a young person, growing up in Boston, there weren't many, outlets and resources to express, the art that had chosen me. And so I guess exposure to different artistic expressions and resources to allow different, communities to take advantage of different opportunities to express their art.
I feel personally this really affected me in music. A lot of what was on the radio is just your typical Western songs, like pop music, whereas there was never really a space that I felt like comfortable to listen to like more ethnic music, so a lot of like Bollywood music, which my mom loved to listen to. I felt really uncomfortable listening to it for a long time while I was younger because it just wasn't the norm, and people would always be like, why does it sound so weird like that? And it was just not a good feeling. So definitely finding a space to have maybe not your typical or what people consider the standard of art.
I would agree, and I hadn't thought about it that way until you said that about, I was thinking like my personal life and like shows I've been in and like exhibits I've been involved with, but also just like as in music and in art, like on the mainstream level, that does, like you do connect with that, and it influences how you see your own like influence or contribution to art when you're seeing that on the radio and on stage and other places as well. But growing up also, I just wanted to see like more representation and have more of like consistent representation, not just have like one show that has like all the people of color, also just like have that be more integrated into more spaces and classes and other things like that. So just growing up, representation is what I found to be like my biggest struggle.
I agree with everything that you guys said, space and representation and integration throughout the years. I agree 100% with that. I've been thinking about this question, and as you can see, this is a collaboration piece, but generally my artwork is full abstract. And there was a time that when I was becoming a full-fledged, full-time artist, that it was kind of expected but not said that my art should represent African Americans. And if not, then they might choose someone else who shows the African American life. So, kind of felt a way about that. But it has been changing, and so that's why I would say that would be a struggle. That, yes, though I'm African American, I can show a different type of art that, you know, can represent my culture as well, still.
What communities or groups have been the most supportive in helping you overcome these barriers, and where have you found support?
I found support among artists. I joined a group, New York Crit Club, on Instagram and did some online Zoom critiques of my work. So supportive, but I discovered that the art world is very inclusive and very patient and forgiving, and people listen to what you have to say and want to hear you speak. And that was different because my world, people don't listen, and you're usually shut down for talking. And so I found art to be very welcoming, and for me, that meant a lot. That's how it works.
So as a young person, it was my communities around my faith in church that nurtured my music. As an adult, I find the same different art communities. You know, I've found myself in different, you know, hip hop communities and art culture communities, and they've all been inclusive. Spoken word communities have all been very inclusive and encouraging with art expression.
Well, I'd like to thank Olivia, but for creating a bunch of spaces, including directing Lost and Found and Ben and Abby as well, who were the other directors. That is, this year especially in person, it was one of the most inclusive spaces related to art, whereas it was just such a wonderful time where you get to create and just talk about your experiences. So I think that's definitely one of my favorite spaces.
I would say also Lost and Found, just being in it as well as directing really gave me a space. Like directing with Ben and Abby also was just like such a supportive team, and I felt like with the like leadership of that show, it just like created such an inclusive space, as well as the cast, a lot of whom are here today as well as one of the next directors for next year, Margot. And so it's just really special to have those spaces and then also see the continuation of them, not as like a one-time thing, But spaces like this, having it last year, seeing how it's grown and changed, and like this year we have food, which is really cool, and just incorporating different aspects of identity into the same spaces and seeing how they evolve and change has been like a really special space for me, even in different like worlds.
Yeah, I would say for me, I felt like libraries gave me a lot of chances coming up. From Newton Library to Bridgewater and Randolph and Brockton libraries, they gave me opportunities to show my artwork on the walls and to talk about inclusiveness and to talk about diversity. So I would say libraries, don't let it be a dying space, y'all.
What stories do you like to tell through your art, and what themes do you like to incorporate?
I like to tell everyone's story because I think we're all one. We are so much alike. And so one of my favorite paintings I did recently was She Pretends, making negative spaces into positive. So in the painting, it's a little girl pretending she's a bus driver, and behind her it's like mostly black area, and down the road is a bus coming, and the name of the street is Cully Road. And the whole point is to show hope and for her dream to come true. And so for me, that's the thing that I always want to carry forward, that there's always tomorrow. It's always going to be improved upon. The world can be a better place, and to always be positive.
I'm more of an art appreciator now, a music appreciator, and I guess I would, my favorite types of music also tell stories. Bob Marley's a good storyteller. Nas is a good storyteller in rap. So I like to hear good stories in my music.
Generally, when I write music, some common themes are usually resilience and perseverance. Whether that would be perseverance in my story or the story of others or people like me. But usually there's definitely, life isn't easy. It seems really cliche. But just acknowledging that it's not always going to be like, you're not always going to feel amazing 24/7, but just acknowledging that like there's going to be some hardships in life.
Similarly to ZZ, I like to acknowledge like the complexity in identity and not just including like the tough struggles that you experience, like racism and colorism, xenophobia, things like that, but pairing that with like the really amazing parts of culture and identity, and the two like coexist oftentimes. And like in Lost and Found, I wrote a piece with Peter, who's not here today, and it was just called Bilingual, Biracial Moment, but just also with like the bi-themed of like the duality of like celebrating two cultures while also like feeling divided, and just kind of like just acknowledging how that can be really intricate and complex, and it's not just what you might see on the surface, identity and race and stuff like that.
My work is all about celebrating you, who you are. For me, it came down to when I was in high school, I got teased and bullied a lot for being a nerd. They called me Steve Urkel all the time, and they still call me Steve Urkel. But now I celebrate it. So when I became a full-time artist, I wanted to put that into my artwork. And that's okay to be a nerd. That's okay to be who you are, no matter what. A friend of mine's, I was gonna go here, but a friend of mine's last night, we were talking about beauty and what it is to be beautiful. And I told her that the most beautiful thing is just to be yourself. If that is to be goofy, if that's to be artistic, well, there's some other adjectives that may be wild, a nerd. As long as you own up to that, that's beautiful. That's you. And that's what my art is all about. Bold and beautiful. You're bold enough to be yourself. So in turn, that makes you beautiful. So that's what my art is about.
Okay, this next question probably goes the most for Dean Lulak, Zizi, and Olivia. But what programs in the school help students of color get involved in art, and why is it important for students of color to get involved in the arts?
Yeah, so one of the reasons I chose Newton as a community is because of how inclusive it is, and it's been true to form. Diversity and equity and inclusion is woven into the fabric of, who and what Newton North is. Some of the programs that I've observed recently have been the Lost and Found program, which has been, was wonderful to observe. The Newtonite has a great program going on now to increase diversity called Get Up 10. There are a number of different opportunities for diverse communities to get involved with activities around campus. As I said, it's woven into the fabric, and so it's really, groups are really intentional about, opening the doors to diverse communities, and so that's one of the reasons I chose Newton, and it's been true to form since I've been here.
I'd say generally speaking, a lot of the affinity groups, such as BLAC, I'm a part of SASA and AACC, oh my gosh. They all have your own days embracing our cultures, and I feel like the North does a really good job of allowing the affinity groups to showcase the work they do, which in turn helps the artists advocate for themselves and show their own culture and their own story. So I feel like a lot of the affinity groups do provide a really nice space for us.
I would agree. I think that was one of our main goals today with having the affinity groups here to connect with them. A lot of these tables have the leadership for next year as well. So talking with the people at the table, you'll get involved with people that will be there next year if you choose to get involved, and this year, there's still time. And that's also why we wanted to have the groups offer something to interact, to kind of begin those conversations and those connections. So I know personally, being biracial, I was a bit intimidated by HLU. I'm the president now, or co-president, but initially I didn't know that I belonged there because I didn't know if I was fully Latina. And so I think just getting involved with those spaces, even if they are a little intimidating, is so rewarding. As a person of color, as an ally, co-conspirator, however you want to phrase it, I think those spaces do offer a lot of support, and not always in the way you would expect, but just having a space to talk about your day looks a lot different than it might in a classroom. If it's in an affinity group, sometimes you realize things that you have in common that are struggles or whatever, or just exciting things that you bond with others on, and it's just a really special moment. So it's affinity groups, Lost and Found, of course. I would say this art event is really special to me, at least, and hopefully a lot of other people. And yeah, and I also really love the days that we do that are inclusive. And also Denise and Jamal, if you want to add anything, feel free.
What are the groups called? They say that.
Oh yes, so that makes sense. HLU is Hispanos y Latinos Unidos, AACC is Asian American Culture Club, SASA is South Asian Student Association, BLAC is the Black Leadership Advisory Council, and those are all here today. Yes, and Lost and Found, it's Lost and Found, that doesn't have an acronym, but it's over there. Do either of you want to add anything? Okay. What message do you have for young artists? What advice would you tell your younger self for when you first became an artist?
That's a hard question for me. I'm a born writer. I didn't do art. I wrote, and then when I got sick, I couldn't write anymore. I couldn't concentrate to write. So I think perseverance would be something I would tell my younger self. Perseverance and believing in yourself, and to have stay strong, realizing that strength is the rawest form of power, and it's empowering to believe in yourself.
So as I mentioned, as a young person, I was encouraged by my church organization to sing. As I grew older and got to high school, I graduated from Concord Carlisle through the MECO program, and so there were tons of opportunities and resources there. But by that time, I was too cool to sing. So I would tell my high school self to take a chance, you know, and to get involved. Today, I wish I was involved with the theater, you know, back in high school, to be able to express that musical expression.
Well, I still consider myself very young. But I would say, something that really sticks with me is that you will remember the things you regret rather than the things you do and you do bad at. And I still stand by that. So just to continue taking all the opportunities I can, and not being afraid of like what people will think of me if I take them and it doesn't go out how I expect, because it'll be better that I tried than to not even know what the outcome would have been.
Again, I agree with what Zizi said. To my younger self, I would also just say to like take the chance and get involved, even if it seems scary at first.
I liked your story tonight at the beginning when you went to New York and they kind of shut the door on you and you were like, nah, I'm gonna keep going. So that's what I would say, keep on going, no matter what anyone says to you. Another one is to uplift others, you know, uplift your friends through your art. And so if you uplift others, they're gonna uplift you, and together you can make it.
Our last question is, how can people connect with your art, and where can people find you on social media if you have one for your art?
People can connect with me on my website, denicedmarshall.com. As in on Instagram, it's at Denice_D_Marshall. I look forward to hearing from people.
So did I mention I was a music appreciator? Now, if I didn't, that is where my art expression lies currently. You know, I share music on my Rulac Enterprises social media page. You can find me there sharing music. Sometimes I share local artists that I like, and different opportunities for musicians to get involved. And so Rulac Enterprises is just a resource bank pretty much for opportunities and different avenues to express your art.
I don't really have something specifically for the art that I write, or the poems, but coming to see Lost and Found, you can come see me, Olivia, and a bunch of other really cool artists. And generally speaking, the Theater Inc. shows, you can see a lot of really cool people perform, and yeah.
Also, I don't really have social media for art, but next year you can go see Lost and Found. I won't be there, I'll be at college, but Zizi will, and Abby, Margot, and a lot of other people that are here today. And Next Gen Voices, which created this event, Creative Minds, HLU. I think that is all for now. I'll be there if you want to connect with me.
You can find me on all social medias at SirJayEvs, that's SirJayEvs, on all the social medias. Thank you guys for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. This has been the artist panel. There's still 2.5 hours left if you want to browse around the art as well. Get empanadas, chicho morada, flan, henna, mango lassi, bracelets, t-shirts, art, a lot of stuff. HLU has water. That table over there, it's free. And I encourage you to get involved with many of the artists here and see what we have to offer. Thank you all for coming.
Yes.
It's still live?
Yes.
I'm gonna take a picture of you too. I'm gonna take a picture of you too.
Yeah, just take one of me.